I was homeless at 16 eating ramen while she posted Mother of the Year photos with her real kids. But when she saw me walk into that wedding as a Hollywood wife, karma hit so hard she needed medical attention. The crowd's reaction was everything. Well, let me tell you my story, and don't forget to tell me in the comments section if I did the right thing. My name is Zara and I'm 26 years old now. But this story starts when I was 16 and my world collapsed in a single afternoon. I still remember the smell of her vanilla candles burning in our living room when my stepmother Diane delivered the words that would change everything. "I only want my real children living here," she said, her manicured finger pointing toward the door like I was some stray dog that had wandered in. My half-siblings Marcus and Keisha sat on the cream leather sofa, the one I wasn't allowed to sit on, wearing their designer clothes and smirking. They were 13 and 11 then, already masters of cruelty under Diane's careful guidance. "But this is my father's house too," I whispered, my voice cracking. Dad had been deployed overseas for 3 months, leaving me alone with this woman who'd been pretending to tolerate me for 2 years. "Your father isn't here, and when he comes back you won't be either." Diane's smile was cold as winter. "I've already packed your things. They're in garbage bags by the garage." The scent of her expensive perfume mixed with the vanilla made me nauseous as reality hit. This wasn't a threat or a punishment. This was permanent. At 16, I was about to become homeless because my stepmother had finally decided to drop her mask. "You have 1 hour," she added, checking her diamond watch. "Security cameras will show you left willingly. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I looked at Marcus and Keisha one last time. They were eating organic strawberries from a crystal bowl, completely unbothered by watching their half-sister get thrown away like trash. The first night in my beat-up Honda Civic, I cried until my eyes swelled shut. The parking lot behind the 24-hour diner became my bedroom, the dashboard my desk for homework. 3 garbage bags contained my entire life. Some clothes, my laptop, school books, and a framed photo of me and Dad from when I was 8. Everything else. My bedroom furniture, my art supplies, even my mom's jewelry that Dad had saved for me, stayed in that house with people who hated me. "You look rough, baby girl," said Miss Rosa, the night shift waitress who found me brushing my teeth in the diner's bathroom at 6 a.m. She was a grandmother with kind eyes who reminded me of my own grandmother who'd passed 2 years earlier. "I'm okay," I lied, my voice hoarse from crying. "No, you're not." She handed me a cup of coffee and a blueberry muffin. "But you're still here, which means you're stronger than whatever tried to break you." That became my daily routine. Shower at the community center, eat whatever Miss Rosa could sneak me from the diner, sleep in my car, and somehow maintain my grades. The school counselor, Mrs. Thompson, knew something was wrong, but I couldn't risk them calling Dad overseas or social services getting involved. Diane had been smart. She kept my phone on the family plan, probably to monitor my calls, but also to maintain the illusion that she was still taking care of me. Her Facebook posts during this time showed family dinners, shopping trips, and vacation photos with Marcus and Keisha. "Blessed to have such wonderful children," one post read, with a picture of them at an expensive restaurant I'd never been allowed to enter. By my senior year, I was working 3 jobs. Morning shift at a coffee shop, afternoons at a grocery store, and weekends cleaning offices. My hands were always cracked from industrial soap, and I lived on 79-cent ramen packets and whatever free food I could get from work. The worst part wasn't the exhaustion or the hunger. It was watching my classmates complain about problems I would have killed for. "My parents only gave me $300 for prom shopping," I heard Brittany Miller whine in chemistry class. I was wearing the same 5 outfits in rotation, washing them in gas station bathrooms, and hadn't bought new shoes in 8 months. But I kept my grades up. Straight A's became my rebellion against Diane's prediction that I'd end up pregnant and on welfare like my mother. My mother had died when I was 12, but not from anything Diane implied. She was a nurse who got sick caring for others during flu season. Dad met Diane 6 months later at a grief support group, though I later wondered if she'd been hunting for vulnerable widowers all along. "Your scholarship essay is exceptional, Zara," my English teacher Mr. Williams said, handing back my college application materials. "Full ride to State University. Your story about overcoming adversity, it's powerful." I hadn't told him the whole truth, but enough to explain my situation without revealing specifics. The scholarship would cover tuition, room, and board. For the first time in 2 years, I saw a way out. Meanwhile, Diane's Facebook showed Marcus getting a brand new BMW for his 16th birthday. The same month I was eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner and calculating if I could afford both gas and food that week. State University felt like paradise compared to sleeping in my car, but college poverty was its own special hell. My dorm room was smaller than Diane's walk-in closet, and while other students ordered pizza and went to parties, I worked in the campus library and survived on dollar store meals. "You never come out with us," my roommate Jessica complained. She was sweet but didn't understand why I couldn't just ask my parents for money when I needed something. How could I explain that my father, still deployed, sent his paychecks to Diane, believing she was supporting me? Or that I couldn't contact him because Diane monitored all family communications? I'd tried reaching him once through military channels, but Diane intercepted the message. Her text the next day was simple: "Try that again and I'll make sure he never sees you when he comes back." You know, I can be very persuasive. He was right. Dad had always been putty in her hands, especially after losing Mom. Diane had positioned herself as his savior, and I was just a painful reminder of his previous life. My chemistry study group met at expensive coffee shops I couldn't afford, so I'd nurse a single water for hours. "My treat," offered David, a pre-med student with gentle eyes and an easy smile. "Thanks, but I'm not really hungry," I lied, my stomach growling audibly. David became my first real friend in years. He never pushed about my family situation, but he had a way of forgetting extra sandwiches or accidentally buying too much coffee. His kindness felt foreign after years of Diane's cruelty. During this time, Diane's social media presence exploded. She'd started a mommy blog called Raising Champions, where she shared parenting tips and family photos. Her bio read, "Devoted mother of 2 amazing kids, stepmom to a wonderful daughter." The audacity made me physically sick. Junior year, I was working late in the library when my phone rang with an unknown number. Military prefix. "Zara? Baby girl, is that you?" Dad's voice cracked through the static and I nearly dropped my phone. "Dad," I whispered, stepping outside into the February cold. "Where are you?" "I'm at Walter Reed. Got injured, nothing serious, but I'm stateside for a few weeks." His voice sounded older, tired. "Diane said you've been busy with college, but I need to see you. Can you come visit?" My hands shook as I realized what this meant. Diane hadn't told him anything about throwing me out. For 3 years, she'd been intercepting our communications and lying to both of us. "Dad, there's something I need to tell you." "Hold on, honey. Diane's here." I heard muffled conversation, then her sickeningly sweet voice took over the phone. "Zara, darling, your father was just saying how proud he is of you. We've been showing him your Facebook posts about college life." Her tone was sugary, but I caught the threat underneath. I didn't have any Facebook posts. She'd created fake ones. "Why don't you come visit next weekend? We'd love to catch up." The emphasis on "we" made my blood run cold. After hanging up, I sat in the campus quad crying angry tears. She'd stolen 3 years of my relationship with my father, and now she was going to manipulate this reunion too. But I was older now, stronger. And I had something Diane didn't know about. David found me there an hour later. "Bad news from home?" he asked gently. "The worst," I said. "But maybe it's time to fight back." I drove to the hospital with evidence printed and organized in a manila folder. Screenshots of Diane's Facebook posts from when she threw me out, photos of my living conditions, employment records, and most damning, saved voicemails where she called me worthless and a mistake your father made. Dad looked older, grayer, with new lines around his eyes. When he saw me, his face lit up with pure joy. "There's my brilliant daughter. Diane's been telling me all about your internships and your sorority." I'd never had an internship or joined a sorority. I'd been too busy working to survive. "Can we talk privately, Dad? Just for a few minutes." Diane's smile tightened. "Oh, sweetie, your father's had a long day. Maybe tomorrow." "Yow." My voice was steady, colder than I'd ever heard it. "Please." Something in my tone made Dad study my face more carefully. "Diane, could you give us a moment? I really don't think." "Diane." His military command voice cut through her protests. After she left, I placed the folder in Dad's lap. "I need you to look at these before you say anything." I watched my father's face crumble as he read through 3 years of evidence. The photos of me sleeping in my car. The Facebook posts where Diane gushed about her 2 children while I was homeless. The employment records showing a teenager working 40 hours a week while in high school. She said you chose to live independently for college prep, he whispered, his hands shaking. She said you were staying with friends, that you wanted space. She threw me out at 16, Dad. Said she only wanted her real children in the house. Dad's face went white, then red with rage. That's impossible. I send money every month for your expenses. Money I never saw. She's been lying to both of us for years. The folder slipped from his lap as Dad bent forward, head in his hands. Oh God, Zara. What have I done? When Diane returned 20 minutes later, she found Dad sitting ramrod straight with fury blazing in his eyes. The evidence was spread across his hospital bed like an indictment. Hey, you two. Having a good catch-up. Her voice was bright, but she'd spotted the papers. Sit down, Diane. Dad's voice could have frozen hell. Her face went pale. What's wrong? You look upset. 3 years. Dad's words were measured, controlled. 3 years you let me believe my daughter was thriving while she was homeless. I can explain. Explain sleeping in a car? Explain 3 jobs at 17? Explain stealing money meant for my child. I'd never seen my father like this. The gentle man who used to braid my hair had transformed into something dangerous. Diane tried tears first. You don't understand the pressure I was under. A teenage girl in the house with my young children. She was your child too. Dad's voice boomed. I married you because I thought you loved her. I tried. But she was so difficult and you were deployed. You threw a 16-year-old out on the streets. Dad stood up despite his injuries. Get out. Thomas, please. Get out before I do something we'll both regret. Diane looked at me with pure hatred. This won't last, you little bitch. He'll choose his real family eventually. He always does. But Dad heard her. No, Diane. She is my real family. You're just someone I made the mistake of marrying. Security had to escort her out after she started screaming about lawyers and custody rights. Marcus and Keisha, who'd been waiting in the hallway, followed their mother like lost puppies. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a father again. Dad's divorce from Diane was swift and brutal. Military lawyers don't mess around, especially when there's evidence of child abandonment and financial fraud. She had to pay back every penny of the money meant for me, plus damages. I want to make this right, baby girl, Dad said as he wrote me a check for $30,000, back payments for 3 years of support. It'll never undo what you went through, but it's not about the money, Dad. I was crying again, but these were healing tears. I just wanted my father back. We spent hours talking, filling in 3 years of stolen time. Dad had been battling his own demons overseas, carrying guilt about Mom's death and throwing himself into dangerous missions because he thought his family was safe at home. I failed you twice, he said. Once when your mother died and I couldn't handle it, and again when I let that woman poison everything. You were grieving, Dad. Diane took advantage of that. With Dad's support, I finished college with honors. David and I had started dating by then, and he was applying to medical schools while I considered graduate programs in psychology. You want to help kids in situations like yours, he observed one evening as I researched family therapy programs. Someone should have been there for me, I said. Maybe I can be there for someone else. But life had bigger plans than I could have imagined. David wasn't just pre-med, he was pre-med with Hollywood dreams. His older brother Marcus, different Marcus than my half-brother, was already making waves as a casting director, and David had been bitten by the acting bug during college theater productions. I got a call back, he said one Tuesday in our senior year, for a Netflix series. David's Netflix series got picked up for 3 seasons. By the time I finished my master's degree in family therapy, he was walking red carpets and getting recognized at grocery stores. This is surreal, I told him after his first major magazine cover. People magazine's Sexiest Man Alive nominee? Really? He laughed, pulling me close in our modest apartment. Success hadn't changed his gentle heart. It's just hype, babe. You know who I really am. That's when he proposed. Not at some fancy restaurant or tropical beach, but in our tiny kitchen while I was making ramen. A nostalgic comfort food I still craved sometimes. Zara Williams, he said, getting down on one knee next to our second-hand dining table. You've been my anchor through all of this chaos. Will you marry me? The ring was stunning, not because of its size, but because he'd had it custom made with elements from my mother's jewelry that Dad had finally retrieved from Diane's house during the divorce. Yes, I whispered and meant it with every fiber of my being. Planning our wedding became a media circus. David's publicist wanted a big celebrity affair, but we insisted on something intimate. Just family and close friends. What about your stepfamily? David asked one evening while we addressed invitations. I hadn't spoken to Diane, Marcus, or Keisha since the hospital confrontation 5 years earlier. Dad occasionally got updates through mutual acquaintances. Diane had married another deployed military man within 6 months of their divorce, probably working the same playbook. They're not family, I said. Never were. But apparently they'd been watching our lives from afar. You need to see this, my friend Tasha said, shoving her phone at me during our wedding planning lunch. Your stepmother is losing her mind on Facebook. Diane's social media had transformed into a shrine to David. She'd shared every article about his career, every photo from red carpet events, every interview where he mentioned me as his fiancé. So proud of my stepdaughter Zara and her amazing fiancé. Read one post from last month. I always knew she was destined for greatness. Can't wait to celebrate with them. My stomach turned. There were dozens of posts like this, each one rewriting history more dramatically than the last. According to Facebook, Diane had been my loving stepmother who supported my dreams and was practically responsible for my success. Look at this one, Tasha scrolled down. She posted a throwback photo of you at 16 with the caption, "Missing my beautiful stepdaughter. So excited to reconnect at the wedding." The photo was real, from a forced family dinner before Dad deployed, but I looked miserable in it. As I was. That was taken 2 weeks before she threw me out. She's telling people she's invited to your wedding, Tasha continued. And get this, she's been commenting on all of David's fan pages, calling herself his future mother-in-law. I felt sick. She thinks she can just pretend the last 8 years didn't happen? Apparently so. And there's more. The worst part was learning that Diane had been calling wedding venues, florists, and caterers, claiming to be my mother and trying to get information about our plans. She'd somehow discovered that David's half-brother Marcus was getting married the same weekend as us, and that several family members would be attending both events. Marcus's wedding was happening 2 days before ours, and several mutual friends would be there. It was the perfect opportunity for Diane to insert herself into our circle and play the loving stepmother role. We should warn them, I said. But David had a different idea. Let's let her dig her own grave. Marcus's wedding was beautiful. A sunset ceremony at an elegant country club with 200 guests, including several of David's celebrity friends and industry contacts. I wore a classic navy dress, keeping it simple since this wasn't my day. Then Diane walked in. She'd somehow gotten past security wearing a designer gown that probably cost more than my car, dripping in diamonds with Marcus and Keisha flanking her like bodyguards. They looked older, harder, with that particular emptiness that comes from lives built on appearances. "Oh my God," gasped the woman next to me. "Is that?" "Hi, stepmother," I said quietly, watching Diane work the room like she belonged there. She was telling everyone who would listen about her daughter Zara, and how proud she was of the family's success. Within minutes, she had a small crowd hanging on her every word about raising me and supporting my dreams. "She's actually pretty charming," David observed, squeezing my hand. "That's how she gets away with everything." Then Diane spotted us. Her face lit up with what looked like genuine joy, and she glided over with her arms outstretched like we were long-lost family. "Zara, my beautiful stepdaughter." She moved to embrace me. "You look absolutely radiant. And David, oh my goodness, even more handsome in person." Several people were watching this reunion, probably expecting a heartwarming moment. Some had their phones out. "Hello, Diane," I said calmly, not moving to accept her hug. Her smile faltered slightly, but she recovered. "I've missed you so much, honey. We need to catch up. I have so many stories to share about how wonderful you were growing up." "Do you?" I interrupted. "Because I have some stories too." David's hand tightened on mine supportively. "Like the story about how you threw me out at 16 and told me I wasn't your real child?" Diane's face went white, but she laughed nervously. "Oh sweetie, you know that's not how it happened." "Or the story about how I lived in my car for 2 years while you posted Facebook photos calling yourself Mother of the Year?" People were starting to stare now, sensing drama. Zara, please, Diane whispered urgently. People are watching. Can't we discuss this privately? Like we discussed it privately when you stole 3 years of communication with my father? My voice carried across the cocktail area and more guests turned our way. David's publicist appeared at his elbow, probably sensing a potential scandal, but David waved him off. I don't know what she's told you, Diane addressed the growing audience desperately, but Zara was a very difficult teenager. I did my best as a stepmother, but some children just... Show them the screenshots, babe, David said quietly. I pulled out my phone and began reading Diane's old texts aloud. You're nothing but a burden and a reminder of his dead wife. That was you, August 15th, when I was 17 and asking to come home for my birthday. Diane looked around frantically as guests murmured in shock. Your father will never choose you over his real family. That was you, Christmas morning, when I called crying because I was spending the holidays alone in a motel room. That's enough, Diane hissed. Stop trying to contact him or I'll make sure he never wants to see you again. That was you, blocking 3 years of communication between a deployed soldier and his daughter. The crowd had grown to about 30 people now. Marcus and Keisha looked mortified, realizing their mother's carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. You abandoned a child, said an older woman I didn't recognize. How could you? She's lying. Diane's voice cracked. She's always been jealous of my children, always trying to cause drama. Ma'am, interrupted a man in a tuxedo. I'm actually a family court judge, and if even half of what this young woman is describing is true, you committed several serious crimes. That's when Diane realized she'd been trapped. Her face went from white to gray and she swayed on her feet. I need to sit down, she whispered. Then she collapsed. The ambulance arrived within 10 minutes. Diane had literally fainted from the stress of her lies being exposed in front of 200 witnesses, several of whom were now filming and would undoubtedly share the footage online. Is she going to be okay? I asked the paramedic because despite everything I'm not heartless. Panic attack, dehydration, probably some shock. She'll be fine, he replied as they loaded her onto a stretcher. As she was being carried out, Diane grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Please, she whispered. Don't let this get out. My husband doesn't know about before. I looked down at this woman who had stolen my teenage years, who had made me homeless and hungry, who had poisoned my relationship with my father for years. That's not my problem anymore, I said gently, pulling my hand free. Marcus and Keisha followed their mother's stretcher like the lost children they'd always been, shooting me hateful looks but saying nothing. They knew they had no ground to stand on. The wedding reception continued, but now everyone wanted to talk to me and David. People were amazed by my story of survival and success, and several guests, including some very influential people in entertainment and law, offered their support for my future endeavors. You handled that with incredible grace, said the family court judge from earlier, pressing his business card into my hand. If you ever want to help other kids in similar situations, call me. We could use someone with your experience and strength. David's publicist, who I'd expected to be furious about the drama, was actually pleased. That was the most authentic moment I've seen at one of these events in years, he said. It showed David's character supporting you like that. My phone buzzed constantly over the next few days. Diane had called 17 times, texted 43 times, and even tried reaching out through social media. Her messages ranged from fake apologies to threats to desperate bargaining. Please let me explain to David's people that this was a misunderstanding. You don't know how hard it was raising you after your mother died. I made mistakes, but I always loved you like my own. If you keep talking about this publicly, I'll sue you for defamation. Your father would be ashamed of how you're acting. To each message I sent the same response. A screenshot of one of her old texts telling me I was worthless. Our wedding 2 days later was perfect. Intimate, genuine, filled with people who actually loved and supported us. Dad walked me down the aisle with tears streaming down his face, and David's vows made everyone cry happy tears. During our honeymoon in Italy, I deleted Diane's number from my phone. I was done giving her any space in my head or heart. 6 months later, I opened a non-profit organization to help homeless teenagers, funded partially by a very generous wedding gift from David's industry friends who had witnessed the country club confrontation. I named it Real Family Foundation. Because real family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about the people who show up when life gets hard, who celebrate your victories without jealousy, and who love you not despite your struggles but because of how you've survived them. Dad comes to every fundraising event. David uses his platform to raise awareness about youth homelessness. Even Miss Rosa from that old diner volunteers sometimes, still calling me baby girl, and telling volunteers about the scared teenager she met in that parking lot years ago. As for Diane, I hear she's moved across the country with her new husband. Her Facebook account was deactivated shortly after videos of her fainting went viral with captions like, "Stepmother's lies catch up to her at wedding." I don't follow her story anymore. I'm too busy writing my own. And it's a beautiful story filled with real love, genuine success, and the kind of family that chooses to stay no matter what. The kind Diane never understood and never will. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well. Sometimes I wonder if I should have just kept the peace and given in. But then I remember what they said and did and I get angry all over again. What would you have done in my situation? Did I make the right call?